Piyush Goyal and Manish Tiwari, thanks very much for joining me. Manish Tiwari, good to see you back on the News Hour tonight. Now, Piyush Goyal, how do you know?
Thank you.
How do you know who this wave is for? I'm looking at Arun Jaitley's campaign diary, his blog, in which he writes, Manish Tiwari, I don't know if you've seen this, Arun Jaitley makes a very perceptive comments. He says that the news is that in Haryana, Delhi, Chandigarh and Jammu, Congress is in a third position. And he says there may be a similar situation in Odisha. And the trends from UP are that the Congress and its allies are in the fourth position. What's this guesswork?
Well, it's a very logical thing. On the ground, you've had surveys coming out all across the country.
No, he talks about yesterday's.
The fact of life is...
No, he talks about yesterday's turnout and links it to third and fourth position. How do you know that anyone's in third or fourth?
The fact of life is that very clearly, the people are angry. The people are angry about prices. The people are angry about the massive corruption they've seen all around them, both at the macro level.
So you're guessing. You're guessing.
Not guessing. Everybody who's gone on the street, every pollster, every news channel, every media person.
But there's been no exit poll.
Everybody has come out with their findings that people are angry. You meet people on the street who say we've traditionally voted Congress. But now this time around we want Mr. Modi.
But how do you decide this whether we
You get calls from journalists going around in UP telling you, my God, we have every person on the street.
How do you know the journalists are not saying something else to someone else?
Most of those journalists are traditionally anti-Modi. And they also...
That's all guesswork. It's guesswork, presumptuousness.
It's what you see on the ground. It's what people are talking all in every place. Look at Delhi. I had my daughter go around the whole Delhi, the tables around the polling booths. The people were coming in hordes to the BJP
I don't understand.
tables.
This is all guesswork.
It's not guesswork. Look at 77. What happened in 77? There was a bump of 5%, and you saw the Congress being swept off. 84, when the Congress came in a big way, there was a sympathy.
Come on,
and
Piyush.
you saw wherever there has been a massive turnout, it has been when they have been emotive about some issue. They've been angry. The anger is reflected in the desire, the motivation to go out and vote.
This is all very highly subjective talk.
It's not at all subjective. That's exactly what we see in the whole country.
Well, I mean, I do admit that there is an average voter bump which is at 12% in 91 constituencies compared to the highest ever bump of 7% after Indira Gandhi's assassination. So there is a high increase. But if you talk about third position, fourth position, I think it's big talk, nothing else, at this point of time. Let's get Manish into the debate. Manish? Who is this wave for? Manish, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, Mr. Goswami. Thank you.
Yeah, did you hear Piyush's analysis? I quoted there Arun Jaitley's blog, where Arun Jaitley writes about the Congress being in the third position in some places, the fourth position in some other places. And he says this is reflected from what? You heard him. Reflected from moral...
It's the motivation to come out and express their anger against the bad governance they've seen for 10 years.
Again, general talk.
It's not general, it's evident. Everybody's talking about it. Your own channel has run opinion polls. You've seen it in the assembly
I've done no opinion poll between yesterday and today.
No, you've seen the assembly results. You saw 80% of the seats in Rajasthan expressing their anger against the state government, which had performed so badly. And you saw the governments of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh come back with better results thanks to their good government. So here you have a situation wherever they were angry with the performance of the
No, it may be an anti-incumbency wave, but how do you assume that it's a pro-Modi wave? The high turnout can be a result of the anti-Modi vote and the consolidation of the Muslim votes, the consolidation of the anti-Modi vote
well.
as well.
In the first instance, we do not believe India can be divided into Muslim vote and any other vote. India is voting decisively for change. You can see it palpably on the ground in the people's reaction when you meet them. And that's evident in the large amount of people who have come out. Many first-timers who have come out to express their anger at what's happening in the nation. Well,
I'll get Manish in on this. Manish, interestingly, wherever the BJP has a large presence, the turnout has been hugely significant. I asked this question yesterday. Surely you don't believe that a lot of people have turned up to vote for UPA 3? A lot of people turning up wouldn't be to vote for UPA 3, Manish.
Well, Mr. Goswami, I have heard Mr. Piyush Goyal's analysis, and he's a dear friend. But since we are all in electoral mode, obviously he cannot be saying anything different from what he's saying. But if you were to analyze the so-called bump, let's understand things in a perspective. In the third phase of the polls, you find that there are more than two principal actors in the fray. So therefore, when you have more than two principal actors in the fray, obviously there is a greater level of mobilization. Number two, the Election Commission has done its homework. They have cleaned out the electoral rolls. So therefore, instances of bogus voters, etc., are much lesser than they were there earlier. So therefore, what you are seeing really as a bump and then trying to extrapolate it as a wave, I would not read it in that manner.
How does bogus voters and higher turnout matter? Manish, how is bogus voter? I mean, were you trying to suggest that earlier there were more bogus voters and now they are genuine voters, so turnout has gone up?
Piyush, I'll explain it to you. For example, if you have 1,000 people in a polling booth, if there were about 200 people who were registered but were actually living outside, so therefore, if 600 people voted, the percentage is 60%. But if those 200 people are removed, the percentage goes up to 80%. So therefore, there is a statistical...
Are you clutching at straws? You're clutching at straws there, come on. You're really now beginning to clutch at straws.
I'm not clutching at straws.
Then tomorrow...
I'm Arnab. Allow me to complete. I'm giving you, a solid logical reasoning that what you see as a higher turnout, and if you were to juxtapose it against previous turnouts, it's something which is keeping in with the trend. Number two, there has been a cleaning up of the electoral roll. So therefore, if anybody is trying to suggest that there is a wave and therefore that is why there's a higher turnout, most respectfully, I would not agree with that analysis.
Has the Congress party panicked after yesterday? Let me put some counter statistics to you. 1 second, Manish. If you look at the voters in Delhi last time and the voters this time, there's a huge difference from, we have a figure of 57 lakhs last time, there's a figure of 81.5 lakhs this time. Change in the number of voters is 24 lakhs, 2.4 million. The change in the number of voters itself is about twice the victory margins of last time. You understand how significant this is, Mr. Tiwari?
And this goes against the bogus.
Therefore, we are analyzing tonight this turnout. No, what's it? The turnout is a game changer. My contention is the turnout is a game changer. You agree or not that the turnout is a game changer?
Mr. Goswami, if you were to go across elections, from 2004 to 2009 to 2014, you would find that on an average, there is a 10 or 15% increase in the electorate in every parliament constituency. So therefore, if you were to translate that into...
Sir, I am not... No. We're not talking about absolute numbers.
We're not talking of absolute numbers.
No, we are not.
We are talking of percentages. Manish, it was 62.
It is suggestive of a wave.
Manish, we are talking of percentages. In 96, it was 57.9%. Whatever may be the denominator. 98, because they were angry with the two governments the Congress supported and messed up, they brought Mr. Vajpayee with 62% turnout. 99, 2004, 2009, it was 60 and 58%. And this time around, you'll see it go up to 70%. That's the kind of enthusiasm amongst the voters. And that's the anger that is being reflected in the desire to come out and vote.
Piyush, I think what you are forgetting, when you make this analogy of 96, 98, 2004, 2009, in 2014, in each parliamentary constituency, there are more than, two forces who are in the reckoning. So therefore, when you have more than two actors in the fray who are in the reckoning, and it is not a straight fight as was the case in most of the previous occasions, you would find a greater level of mobilization.
Tell me which election from 91? From 91 there has been no election which was a straight fight.
Well, in the sense that in the constituencies which went to the polls, which are being used as an indicator or as a benchmark, to try and arrive at this wave theory, you would find that in most of these constituencies, it used to be a direct fight between the Congress and the BJP, and
no.
There is a third actor, there is a fourth actor.
In UP, Congress is completely outclassed. They are not relevant in the election in UP. And there the bump is 13%. In Bihar the bump is 13.5. It was always a multi-party contest. In Jammu and Kashmir.
That's precisely what you were saying the last time also, that we were irrelevant in the context of UP. But Piyush, if you forget that we came back with 20 seats.
Yeah, and in the assembly you went in fourth position. In assembly you went back to fourth position.
Well, you didn't really crown yourself a glory in the parliament elections in UP or the assembly elections, so let's leave it at that. And in the case of Bihar, it is a fight between two alliances.
But so if I look at
what you are trying to extrapolate and arrive at, a kind of a comfort factor, I don't really think that comfort factor exists.
No, but what has it got to do with
the question I put here? Now, let's go to the politics of it, okay, Manish? Let's go to the politics of it. Some people have begun to believe, when they look at what the Congress party has been doing of late, that there are a lot of desperate measures, Mr. Tiwari. A few desperate measures that your party is now resorting to. Now, I want you to give me a plausible explanation for the desperate measures at the last moment. A, the wooing of Imam Bukhari, right? The meeting of Imam Bukhari and Sonia Gandhi. B, Rahul Gandhi, who said, "I'll never make personal attacks," goes in for personal attacks. C, complaining to the election commission about Baba Ramdev. D, complaining about to the election commission about Sri Ravi Shankar. Right? E, raking up Vajpayee's Rajdharma remark once again and then shooting off Vajpayee's shoulder to target Modi, when it is a known fact that the relationship between Vajpayee and Sonia Gandhi was at a terrible low by the end of Vajpayee's prime ministership. I mean, to use Vajpayee to attack Modi there. So my point, I've given you 5 examples, which the broad question is this: have you become desperate, Mr. Tiwari, at this stage of the campaign, that you're changing your campaign style? And is there a worry after yesterday's bump? Are we going to see more of this now? More aggression, more firepower, perhaps more unconventional method of political attack in the next few days?
Well, I think, Mr. Goswami, what you are seeing is the cut and thrust of an election. Without going into the specifics of the A, B, C, D, E, that you have chosen to raise, may I very respectfully submit and point out that in an election, every political party reaches out to all sections of society. So therefore, if the Congress president has met, with representatives
of now this is their secularism, Arnab. This is their definition of secularism. When they want to use Dhirendra Brahmachari, that is okay for them. When they want to go to one particular community leader, that's okay for them. But when it comes to development,
but
when
to be fair, the Shahi Imam
when it comes to jobs, they're exploiting the issue. They don't want to debate.
But the Shahi Imam meeting happened before yesterday's vote.
Allow me to answer that.
That's exactly true. That's exactly the point.
1 minute, Manish.
They are trying to communalize the debate. They are trying to divert.
What is Amit Shah doing?
Amit Shah did nothing.
He has been banned from further rallies in Uttar Pradesh.
He spoke about the revenge that people want to take against misgovernance.
Why is the election
He spoke about the revenge against the Congress's misrule, the corruption,
why has the election commission banned him? Why has the election
commission? Well, we will talk to the election commission about that. But you have read that speech, you have seen that speech. Never once did he appeal to communal sentiments. He spoke about the revenge, the anger of the people for their government.
My question, which I put 5 concrete examples to Manish Tiwari. And I repeat the question to him. I expect Manish Tiwari to give me a straight answer and not say this is just a cut and thrust of politics.
Well, I've heard your question, Mr. Goswami, and I'm giving you a straight answer before my dear friend, Mr. Piyush Goyal, decided to have his say, which of course he's entitled to. What I was very respectfully submitting to you is that secularism means reaching out to all sections of society. So therefore, if at all you have a meeting with representatives of a particular section of society, how does that make you unsecular in any manner?
This has exactly been our argument all these years.
No.
This has been our argument all these years. Then what do they mean when they allege communalism to us? This will go down in posterity as a very important statement.
Well, in the sense
that's what we have said: appeasement of none, justice for all.
Our definition of secularism has been Sarv Dharm Sambhav. It is equal respect for all faiths. So therefore, the people you are saying that if we talk to them, we are communalizing an election. After all, are they not electors of India? Are they not citizens of India? Are we not entitled to talk to them? So therefore,
where does your definition of secularism? How does your definition of secularism then in any way differ from what definition we have? We are talking of justice for all and appeasement of none. We are talking of equal rights to all religions. You are the people who bring in minority reservations. Where does minority reservation come in if you are talking of equality of all religions?
If you decide to shift your goalposts, forgetting your own legacy, then Piyush, that is entirely your prerogative. I have nothing further to say to that.
Our legacy is very honorable, by the way, Manish.
No. But the thing is that, you decide to shift your goalposts, conveniently depending upon what the situation is.
No, my friend, we have a goalpost. You have lost the goal only.
So therefore, that is what the people will judge. But insofar as the Congress is concerned, I think, we've been very consistent insofar as our definition, insofar as our practice of secularism is concerned, and what we have been doing, however, is keeping in with that definition.
No, this debate, however, is not on secularism. My counter question to Piyush Goyal, and I expect him to answer this as well and not give me the example of other states. I remember that till December 8, 2013, you dismissed the third factor. Please understand this, Mr. Piyush Goyal. Manish Tiwari talks of a third factor. You and I had many conversations before December 8th when we talked about the voting in Delhi and you dismissed it. You said this is a BJP wave, did you not? Of course you did.
Yeah, because we got 80% of the seats in Rajasthan.
No, I'm talking about Delhi.
75% of the seats
I'm talking about Delhi.
Madhya Pradesh.
No, I'm talking about Delhi.
65% of the seats
I'm talking about Delhi. Is it true or not?
It was a BJP wave in all the 4 states.
By the way, what
even
wave?
Even in Delhi, we were the single largest party.
What wave is this?
It is the failure of the Congress to even come into the race.
What wave is this when Mohan Bhagwat is asked on the 10th of April, is there a Modi wave? He says, I don't know about that. If you are so sure about the Modi wave, why is the head of the RSS not confirming that there is a Modi wave anyway?
Mr. Modi is the leader of the BJP, is our Prime Minister candidate. The BJP wave is...
I thought he has the RSS's blessings.
Is reflecting the Modi wave.
If he has the RSS's blessings, why isn't the RSS
What Mr. Bhagwat said was very clear. He said, we do not discuss personalities.
No, he said, I don't know about that.
He said, I do not discuss personalities.
He said, I don't know about that.
Yeah, because he said, I don't discuss
My question to you is, Manish asks you a very direct question.
What is
and I reiterate, which you dodged.
No, which is that?
Well, he said there is a third factor in all these states.
But where is the third factor? You have seen.
I'm saying.
You have seen the surge of the BJP.
Well, you said the same things about Delhi.
Election.
You said the same things about
Delhi. Yeah, and we proved it right. We were the single largest in Delhi. We got 82% of the seats in Rajasthan.
I am talking about
75%. Why are you talking of why not all the 4 states?
No, but the declared numbers told a different story in Delhi because, in Delhi is one of those states where it was not pure Congress BJP. It was the entry of a third factor.
One thing is
Manish says...
the BJP is still in the front. Congress is decimated. They're not in the race at all. We'll sort out the other issue.
Are you being complacent now?
Does this wave not show that the Congress is not in the race? They've already given up the race. They've started diverting issues.
Anyway, you didn't. Well, have you lost the race before it's begun? I don't know whether Piyush Goyal is saying this to provoke you on a Friday evening, but he seems to indicate that you have lost the race before it's begun.
Well, when their candidates are not even willing to fight the election.
And beyond personal attacks, what really do you have? What armory do you have now, which you are going to unleash between now and the last phase of the election?
What obviously do you expect Mr. Piyush Goyal to be saying in an election mode? Insofar as the Congress is concerned, we are fighting this election very seriously. We've gone to the people on the strength of what we have done over the past 10 years in terms of the rights-based entitlement architecture we've built, in terms of, a very consistent economic growth that we've delivered despite, two international economic slowdowns. So therefore, for anyone to be dismissive, about the Congress, we saw that in 2004,
what they have given us,
saw that in 2009. We saw that in 2004 and 2009 that, there was a similarly dismissive attitude about the Congress. The results proved to the contrary.
Yeah, so they've given us massive corruption. They've given us prizes in double-digit inflation.
And we'll see as to exactly, what the people have decided.
Right, Arnab, you can see the anger of the people when they have to face.
But why is your nature of campaign
at 400% increase?
Why is your nature of
food prices are so high? When they see unemployment so high, when they see corruption at the level the government has given.
But why is the
That's
nature
where
of
the anger is.
My final question is, if you're not worried, and if you're not desperate, and if you feel this huge turnout has nothing to do with a vote for the BJP, then why are you getting into a different nature of campaign at this stage, Mr. Tiwari? Why are you getting personal? Why has the nature of the campaign changed at this stage, Mr. Tiwari? Explain that.
Well, the nature of the campaign remains what it was to begin with, Mr. Goswami. We have gone to the people on the basis of what has been our track record.
They have
over
gone
the
to the people on the basis of their prime ministerial candidate who refuses to be called a prime ministerial candidate.
You have a regular cut and thrust, which goes on a daily basis. I think, you've covered enough elections, to differentiate between the cut and thrust and what the substantive issues
Manish,
are. So
you don't have a prime minister.
Substantive issues are concerned.
Manish, you don't have a prime ministerial candidate in this election. You don't have anything to show in terms of performance. Jobs are down, prices are high, interest rates are high, economy is slowing down badly.
We believe in a Westminster style of democracy. This is not a presidential form of government. You unfortunately have attempted to try and morph this into a
presidential form of government. You can see the palpable fear on them.
But that's your prerogative.
When they wanted to project Rajiv Gandhi, when they had Indira Gandhi, at that time, they never remembered the Westminster model. When Sonia Gandhi nominated Manmohan Singh, what happened to the Westminster model? You took out those papers, right? The constitution of the Congress was amended. So Sonia Gandhi could appoint Manmohan Singh. Any case, a prime minister who had no authority and no responsibility to do for all these years. There were other people who were handling that. The fact of life is...
Well, what happened in 2004?
The fact of life is this government is on its way out. This government has failed the people miserably.
What happened? You had a prime ministerial candidate in 2009 in Mr. L.K. Advani. What happened?
But in 2009, Mr. Tiwari...
2009, Manmohan Singh was their candidate.
But in 2009, Mr. Tiwari, A, it was not a personality election of the kind it is now, A. B, you may disagree. You may say they just substituted Advani with Narendra Modi. B, you will acknowledge, Mr. Tiwari, there was no increase in voting percentage. It was flat. This time there is a palpable increase. So that's the question, right? That's why we are debating this evening. You cannot compare this to 2009 in that sense.
If I was looking at your figures yesterday, between 2004 and 2009 also, you had a substantive voter
No, that's not
No, it was, in fact, it went up by 0.2%. 58 to 58.2.
That's not true.
You see, ultimately,
that's not true.
Ultimately, when across 543 constituencies, these statistics are compiled, you may find that between 2009
this is the typical argument with the
what you are seeing a constituency bump. what you're seeing, as a constituency bump, may not be an average bump all throughout, but,
well,
be
UP,
that as it may,
UP is not constituency, it's all the seats.
I understand it.
It is.
As I understand
Bihar
it,
is not constituency.
there is no wave. There is no wave. If there is a higher voter turnout, it is because there are more people or there are more forces in the
My
fray.
friend, this is not an absolute number. It's a percentage, Manish. I mean, you are a very eminent lawyer. It's a percentage. So absolute number, even if the denominator is higher, the higher voter turnout means more people voted.
In fact, in
as a percentage.
In absolute numbers, it will be even greater.
It will be even much bigger.
Come on, Manish, you know
Delhi is 14% increase over a 2.4 million increase base.
What you are trying to attribute it to, or Mr. Goyal is trying to attribute it to, most respectfully, I do not agree with that analysis.
No, what is the logic of not agreeing?
Come out to vote.
What is the logic?
The logic of not agreeing is that if more people have come out to vote, it is because there are more forces in the fray and more forces have been mobilizing people.
I think Manish,
you may like to vote in their favor.
Manish, you may like to give the thought that a person is motivated to come out to vote when he is angry or he is happy. There has to be an emotive element for a person to actually come out and vote.
Can I in a
normal election, the voting
I don't want to burst your bubble. No, 1 second. I don't want to burst your bubble, Piyush Goyal. But I have a theory, Manish. Just 1 second.
Reason also.
No, my question to Piyush is, he won't like this. But I like bursting bubbles of politicians, especially when they are on a high. Piyush is on a high tonight. So
I'm always on a high when I come and have coffee with you.
Piyush Goyal, do you think that this increased voting may not be because of Modi? It may be because there is 1 hour extension of voting time. That people have been allowed to vote for 1 more hour.
Even if that is so, I'm so happy that more people have been...
No.
If that is so, they should allow another 2 hours.
So you take it back. So you take
not
what
at
you
all.
said back.
I'll be happy if they allow another 2 hours. My friend, the increased voting percentage, if a person wishes to vote, he goes and casts the vote whatever the time. You see people in villages go out and stand in the sun for hours when they want to cast their vote. It is that opportunity that people were looking for to give a fitting reply to the bad government they've had for so many years. And this result is going to be a wave which will give the BJP an absolute majority.
So on our live coverage, one second. Therefore, I like pre-booking guests. On the noon of 16th of May, 2014, Piyush Goyal and Manish Tiwari will be back. And then now you can call each other and take a wager on what that's going to be about.
I'm happy to wager that the Congress will not go beyond 71. And I'm happy to wager that the NDA will cross 300. The floor is open.
Well, I think, if wishes are horses, then Mr. Piyush Goyal is most welcome to ride them. But on the 16th of May, he will find that those hopes are
okay.
Well, I'm not a betting
man, but I have a certain political sense. So therefore, be as it may that Mr. Piyush Goyal is on a rhetorical high. 16th of may find that the reality is different from the rhetoric.
Well, no, it's not rhetoric, Arnab. It's based on hard fact. It's based on...
What did you say about Ashwamedh?
I was just telling you, Ashwamedh का घोड़ा जब निकलता है, तो सबके wishes रहते हैं कि वो घोड़ा और तेजी से जाए, अच्छा काम करे, conquer the kingdom, and get good government and get Bhagwan Ram to come and lead the nation. I think it's time now that we get a good government,
the question is,
an honest leader,
Ashwamedh का घोड़ा को कोई अगर challenge करे,
and a leader who doesn't have to send files to somebody else to approve before the day ends.
Okay, 1 second. Manish Tiwari and Piyush Goyal, remember, we have a time. 16th of May, 12 noon.
So are you booking our time today?
I'm booking your time today. Thank you very much for joining me on debate number 1 this Friday evening tonight.
Thank you. Thanks, Manish.